Welcome to another episode of Inside the Headset with the Palestine head football coach Kyle Ralph. I am Wes Anderson, special teams coordinator, wide receiver coach, and coach. We're going to cover the second half of the 2018 Decatur Central State Championship game today. A game that we went into the locker room with a 28-6 lead, and on the IHSAA broadcast of this game, Pat Boylan interviews you on the way in the locker room, and the comment you made to him about that last minute and a half there, where they have it 1st and 10, basically on their own 30-yard line, with a minute 50 or something like that to go, and that turns into 14 more points for us. Your comment to Pat in that moment was, sometimes the ball just bounces your way a few times. What was that the message to the kids when we got in there? Or you talked a lot about, you'd already started to think about how we're going to get this time to roll off the clock. So what happens in the locker room when we go in there up 28-6?
Obviously tell the kids how well they've done in the first half. We've really played overall a pretty clean ball game. We've missed a couple of throws here and there. We've made some tough reads. We've missed a couple of blocks, but considering the level of opponent you're playing in a state championship game, we've played pretty well. And just told the kids it's going to take another half of football here like that to win this thing, and made our adjustments. That's something that we always do. Made sure that the linemen and stuff were clear on the blocking against their bear front, that the quarterback run that you saw be really successful. We made sure we were clear on that. That was one of our checks that we had, that we had kind of worked on and practiced through. Like I said, their defensive coordinator is actually someone I had coached against years before, and we had kind of figured that they would try to employ something very similar to what he had used years ago. So we're starting to see a little bit more of that become a call, and some of those multi-fronts with those reduced tackles. So just made sure we were clear on that. Came back to a couple things in the passing game that I felt like might be there for us. One of which actually would have pretty much sealed the game and gotten it over with. And we actually overthrow that ball again on a 4th down in their territory. We get the ball driven back down there again. And it really was something simple. We were going to clear the thing, clear the one side out. And the guy that had been covering Eric on the back side had been giving him a pretty good amount of cushion, and it wasn't a great matchup for us in a general statement because the guy was significantly faster than Eric, so we weren't ever going to get past him. But Eric was a lot bigger than he was, and so he'd given him a little bit cushion so that the kid couldn't get bodied. So I specifically remember coming up to the board, and I grabbed Eric and I grabbed Zach, and I said, look, we're going to come back to these things here in the passing game at some point. So I knew we were going to have to throw the ball to win a little bit.
Yeah.
And we end up not being successful at that. And so we've got to kind of hang on because we can't complete passes here in the second half. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure in the second half we don't complete a single pass. But I remember putting on the board, I said, we're going to come back to this, and then we're going to run essentially Z slant. And I said, I'm telling you guys right now, it's going to be critical because this is either going to be a touchdown or a major conversion for us because of the way that they've been playing this on the backside. When we leave Eric there, this is going to be a big hitter for us. And I think it's one of the very few passes that we even attempt here in the second half, and we actually miss it, and it hurts a lot. You're going to see Eric's got an easy 1st down conversion and might be able to go the whole way if we hit him in stride and we sail him again. So we really just did kind of the normal stuff. And I talked to the kids at the very end about the fact that we've played a really clean 24 minutes up to this point. Obviously there's some things that happen in there. I'm not going to sit there and browbeat them and recap the onside kick that could have been, or the first drive where we get no points. I mean, there's no sense in kind of getting into them on those things. I mean, we've played good football, and mistakes are going to happen. And but for the most part, the ball had bounced our way a couple of times, and our kids really had capitalized on that. So really proud of them, and gave them a good positive message, and really just kind of left the locker room and told them, you're 24 minutes away from being a state champion, and this is going to come down to, how much gas you've got left in the tank and how much you're willing to essentially sacrifice here to be a champion for the rest of your life. And, they came out and did a tremendous job. We weathered a little bit of the storm, and like I said, I didn't think they could score enough as it was to catch us. The only way that they could catch us is if we beat ourselves. And, I reminded Lincoln and Charlie of that as we came out, just about ball security and stuff, or not Lincoln, Zach and Charlie, about that as, we came out about ball security knowing that the plan for me personally was we were going to run the ball quite a bit anyway. But yeah, I wasn't going to tell the kids at the time that the plan was to bleed the clock and not essentially give them enough time on the clock to catch us. I wanted to make their offense have to beat us, and I didn't think that they could. So, yeah, I mean, to the coaches in the hallway, like I said yesterday, that was kind of the plan. I told the coaches we're going to slow down a bunch. I mean, the kids figured it out, obviously, after a couple of drives when we're snapping the ball super late in the clock. We just don't do that. So I think the kids obviously realize, like, okay, this is more about conservation and preserving a win here for us. And obviously then our defense stayed a lot fresher because so many of those kids were playing both ways. That helped those guys a lot. Austin had actually torn his labrum in his shoulder in the first half, and so he's playing through an extreme amount of pain and essentially one arm and playing both ways and never coming off the field. Kyle's never coming off the field, and he's going to start getting pretty tired here late in the game. But Kyle really takes over the second half here, honestly. And again, I think a lot of that was we're slowing the pace down on offense. Those guys are getting a little bit more rest, and so some of those primetime guys are getting a little bit extra, breath in between plays and series there, and it allows us to finish this game pretty strong.
So before we jump in here, a couple of questions that I've had the past 2 or 3 days as we've gone through this that we really haven't addressed is why we kick extra point the way that we do. From coaches, from across the country, they're kind of checking this thing out, and I've given a few clinic talks on why we do that. But if you're okay with it, I'd like to go back to that last play of the first half for a minute here and just kind of do a quick and dirty about the background of why we kick PAT the way we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll start with a little bit of a backstory, because about halfway through this year, through 2018, we ran PAT like everybody else did, where Luke would be right here and Maxon would be right here. And my belief is, we kick a lot of these. We kick, I think our 3-year average since I've been a special teams coordinator is like 106 extra points a year. And we were really struggling on this team. And in the middle of the year against one of the weaker teams on our schedule, we had 3 of them blocked in one game. And, you go home on a Friday night and you sit down and you start thinking about it. And that was not a great night for me. Because I'm going, if we can't kick an extra point against one of the worst teams on our schedule, how in the world are we ever going to kick extra points in playoffs? So kind of sat down, started thinking about it, and eventually the thought came to me that we punt from a shield punt. We stick 3 big fat dudes not fat dudes, big strong dudes right in front of the punter. And my thought was, why can't that work for extra point? So that kind of started this initially of, let's just take our wings and let's just stick them right in front of the kicking block and basically build a two-man shield here. And it took us a little bit of work um, to kind of get the rules and stuff figured out. I'll for the coaches that are curious, I'll kind of go pretty quickly through the rules here. Generally speaking, we want to be, we're actually a little bit tight here with both of these guys. We really want their outside foot to be on the 8-yard line in terms of depth. And the reason for that is what I want to do is prevent this from being a block by alignment alone. Basically, you're not going to run around him and get there. He's probably still okay there, but the 8 is kind of our mark. And then we're gonna align for width based on the outside-most guy who this wing believes can block the kick. So in Luke's case, it's this right here. I think this is Larry Tracy. So he's going to take his outside foot and he's going to draw basically a straight line. That's not a straight line, but basically right through the block, through his outside foot, and then to this outside player. And like I said, we want to kind of try to deny that by alignment. And then our tight ends, I'm going to talk about this in a second, but we've got them a little bit twisted here. And then their rules don't change. So they're going to block down on a C-gap threat. If they have one, in this case, both do. If they don't, they'll fan. And then the wing's going to take the inside. If 2 run at him, he's always going to take the inside guy, basically. You know, the only way that this kick can get blocked based on our alignment is if this happens. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the steps that we've taken to prevent that. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen here for a second. So a story that I don't think very many of our fans know. So we go in that PAT that we kick right there at the end of the half, they throw a flag. And they stand there and they talk about it. And, you know, our kids are already gone in the locker room. Decatur's had the locker room. So they pick the flag up and they wave it off. And we go in, we do halftime, and I'm you're kind of finishing up in there with the kids. And so, you know, I usually like to go out a couple minutes early, you know, kind of get the headset sorted out and all that stuff. So I'm walking out with Dan Walker, and I'm walking out with your brother, Brad, who's on the sidelines with us. And so as we're walking through the tunnel, kind of under the stadium to come back out, a couple of the freshman coaches come running back in the tunnel and are like, hey, the official's looking for you, that's always a good sign, right? So we come walking out of the tunnel, and the official that's on our sideline, who, and I'll say this, that was a great crew, man. That's one of the favorite crews I've ever had. Those guys were really, really good.
Yeah, that really was a great crew. Yeah, they were really good.
You know, I won't say we've had every recruit in Indiana, but of all the ones we've had, those guys were awesome. I really liked them. So the official who's on our sideline is standing right there in the back of the end zone at our tunnel waiting for me. And as I come out with Dan and Brad, and he stops me and goes, hey, coach, your extra point formation is illegal. And my answer is the only obvious answer, which is no, it's not. That is incorrect. So we end up having a conversation, and just so I'll go back to it, just so everybody knows what the rule is on this. To be counted as a player that's on a line of scrimmage, and you have to have 7, they have to be, the wording in the rule book is approximately parallel, and it's not abundantly clear what that is. Personally, my belief is 45 degrees is approximate. It's not 90 degrees. He's not literally turned sideways facing the sideline. So that was what they said. They said it can't be turned like this. So we kind of had to go back to the drawing board a little bit. We didn't score in the second half, but if we did, the PAT was going to be a little bit hairy because we were going to have to do something that we'd never done before in terms of how these tight ends had aligned, something we'd not practiced. I talked to both those guys before we went back out there and kind of explained what I wanted, but that's certainly not a situation you want to be in a state championship game by any means. So between 2018 and 2019, we've changed it a little bit, and let me grab an example of that real quick and share that. So this is from 2019, and you can see what these tight ends have done now. And I call it an NFL offensive tackle stance, like when those guys are going to pass set in 3rd and long, and that outside foot's back. What we've done is allowed is kind of denied the opportunity for a player to run outside the tight end, but inside the wing and block that kick. So we've really been pretty tight on it, if I'm honest, and I'm really happy with the results of us using this PAT. I know it's a little bit different, it's a little bit unique, but I think it's something that's really worked for us.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. It's been, significantly better. I remember when you pitched me the idea, I just told you, I said, let's just figure it out. I mean, I don't care what it is that you want to come up with to make it better. But yeah, I remember it was like a stretch of 2 games where the 2 teams had gotten their hand on 3 kicks or something like that. And I think you're right, like 2 got blocked in a game. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't acceptable, obviously, but we just weren't getting the standard kind of PAT of it done. Some of it was our operation time. We were breaking in, actually multiple snappers, I think, at the time. And we just had to find a better way to do it. And you came up with an outside the box idea, and I let you roll with it. It's ended up being great for us. So yeah. It took some time.
So there we go. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it took a couple weeks, and the funny thing is I think just with how officiating is, we put that in for the first time in 2018 at Newcastle, and before the game started, I actually went to the officiating crew and I said, "Hey, listen, guys, we're gonna, you probably haven't seen anything like this before, but here's what we're gonna do." And they gave me the green light. That's fine, yeah. And I kind of explained what the tight ends were gonna do, and explained the rule and approximate parallel and all that stuff. Great, love it, super, and never had a problem with it from week 8 through the semi-state, and we ran it that way the whole way. And state championship halftime, no more, can't do it. So a lot of research that went in that off season, and trying to talk to the officials association, and talking to officials that I knew, and to try to get kind of back into something that was legal, and making sure we were compliant with approximately parallel. So a little bit of backstory there for our fans, that I don't think knew that conversation ever happened, and it never presented itself because we didn't score again. So, all right. So second half here. So we're up 28-6, and we're going to come out and they're going to start with the football. Really good play there by Max and Hook. Unsurprisingly, on our kickoff team. I do want to talk at some point as we go through this about why we do kickoff the way, or how we do kickoff the way we do, but we can save that for another day. So, so we bury him here, 13-yard line coming out, and they're in spread.
Yeah, there's their quarterback buck sweep out of spread again. This is one of the plays that I said yesterday, we're from the spread especially, we're probably best. We've had a lot of teams run this play against us, and we've done really, really well against it overall. I mean, our team speed is pretty good on that. We got solid back pocket coverage here from Riker. I mean, we start off and they're taking that essentially a singular deep shot to the Division I kid again here, and they're trying to make those. It's kind of what I said. Their best shot was to have the 2 best players be able to beat us by themselves, and we just couldn't let that happen. So, it's just about playing smart football and again, making them move it themselves. Here it is again. They're feeding the other one a really nice little tunnel screen to the inside guy, which is a tough play for us to stop based on our structure. And, but yeah, I mean, this is what we would have to deal with. They're gonna burn up the tank of those 2 kids because it's their best bet.
It's a nice little play here. They show Buck this way, and it's kind of play action off the Buck, to come back to this little tunnel right here. That's a nice little play design. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know we're not a screen team, so, but just an observation. What a nice job by that tackle to come back out and get Hockett on that too.
Yeah, it was a good play. just a couple missed tackles here. This is probably
Hmm.
that was one of the worst tackling jobs. There were about 3 plays in this game where we really just don't put our, break our feet down and make a good tackle. That was one of them. That one quarterback scramble was another one from the first half there.
Hmm.
But again, I mean, it's going to happen. But all in all, we did a really solid job. There's the the quarterback pulls this one.
Hmm. Yeah, this is quarterback buck sweep. Nice little variant off their normal buck look.
Yeah, I mean, they've run this a couple of times. Again, we do a nice job of getting guys in the lanes and hold them to a yard.
Oh, and let's go back for a minute. I want to go back because something really bad happens for us on this kickoff, and
Oh,
I just realized that because CJ was in the game.
I'd rather not talk
Um,
about it because it still makes me sad. I'd rather not even talk about it because it makes me sick to my stomach still to this day. But yeah, I mean, I can, I guess.
so we lose our middle linebacker on this play. We lose Luke Ely.
To a
Um,
non-contact injury.
yep, to a torn ACL on this
Yeah.
kickoff. Um,
Yep. He doesn't even get hit by anybody. I mean, really, after he blows his knee out, he gets hit, which is the even more disgusting part about it. He's at the top of the screen up here, and
right
what's going
here.
to happen is he's right. Yeah, I think that's him or right inside of that. I think he's right inside of where you just clicked. No, that is him. Yeah,
That's him right there.
tries to plant his foot, and his knee, he actually tears his ACL, and then after he planted it and he tore it, he picks his leg up off the ground because obviously you can feel that, and
Hmm.
then the guy hits him. It wasn't the actual hit that caused it.
Hmm.
Him planting his foot actually caused it, and it was it was one of the more disheartening things. Obviously, I mean, Luke was a 4-year starter for us at linebacker. He was an all-state player. Um, made all of our checks out there and
Hmm.
all the calls for us, and really he was the guy that truthfully knew their offense inside and out, and he was playing Mike Backer. So when he went down, we lost. It's more, again, for a team like us, that's more than just a player. We lose the starting middle linebacker, the backup running back, the kickoff guy, the punt team guy, the punt return guy, the kickoff return guy. You're losing six
Extra
players.
point guy.
Yeah, you're losing 6 or 7 players in one because of our guys having to do so many things for us. More importantly, our defensive communication started to break down a little bit in this opening drive or two. I think what I was really proud of it, and this is probably a little bit of, looking down the road, is Avon started taking over that job as best he could in this game, and then that made me feel really good for going into his senior year. And boy, he ended up being one of the all-time best we've had at that. As a senior. Luke was kind of the alpha in there. And so Avon just kind of was quiet and played the game and did his job. But, this was a big grow up moment for Avon because he had to start doing those things for us. And, boy, I mean, his senior year was he just spectacular at it. But yeah, that was an absolutely sickening moment to sit there and think, for a minute maybe he'd rolled his ankle because Luke actually walked off the field under his own power. He didn't have anybody help him.
Yeah.
He actually got himself up and walked over to me and said, something was wrong. I don't know, like my knee or my ankle just gave out. And I said, all right, well, go see the trainer. We'll put someone in for you. And I remember, doctor walked over to me and I just looked at him and I said, what's the deal? And he just shook his head no. And I immediately knew what that meant. And I almost threw up on the sideline, and I'm out there actually, calling the plays.
Yeah.
And I took a break on a punt, coming up here. I took a break on a punt and just left the sideline and walked back to him on the benches and just gave him a big hug and, told him I love him and we're going to win this game for you. Don't worry about it. And I mean, the kid apologized and I'm like, you don't even, you absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I said, we're gonna be fine, and we're gonna win this game. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, it was sickening. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a heartbreaker. But um, yeah, we do have a little bit of communication breakdown that happens here because of that, and injuries sadly are part of the game. But our kids were pretty resilient. But yeah, that was awful.
So the adjustment here, Avon Jones in the first half. This was Luke Ely, and here was Avon Jones. So the adjustment here is Avon moves into the middle, and CJ Fabian comes in, and CJ had a couple of really nice games for us in the playoffs, leading up to this as well. Played really well in the Harrison game in the regional. So I know losing Luke is a tough pill to swallow. But, I felt like throughout this year, we really had four linebackers, four guys that really legitimately could play really, really good football. And honestly, in my opinion, I think this was the position on the defense that we could kind of absorb that loss the best. We would have been in big trouble had we lost a D lineman or had Maxon gone down. Obviously, I think that would have been a much bigger blow to the structure of our defense, just in terms of depth alone, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, we were probably one deep at every position. And like I just said earlier, I mean, Austin is playing with a fully torn labrum in his shoulder. And so he's gutting that out. We probably had one D lineman that could rotate through. We probably had one linebacker, which now we're at. So we're at zero there. And then we had one DB because Colby's playing out there right now instead of Canfield is because of the matchup. So, yeah, we probably had one at each position group. Linebacker was probably the best equipped of all of those. But again, we're a mid-sized 4A school that's playing in the 5A playoffs. We don't have the depth that everybody else does. So, sometimes luck and the health that we've had throughout the season, it is a big deal. Pretty much a smash type concept here out of this. It's a good throw. Good throw on the run. We do a good job of trying to push the pocket there, but he just makes a nice throw to the just short of the chains here.
I'll tell you, the Harrington kid, their quarterback, I like this kid. I was really impressed with him on film. I was really impressed with him in the game. Tough kid, hard runner, really throws a pretty nice ball. I know they've had some real dudes at that position over the years. Tommy Stevens, who started at Mississippi State last year, has played a long time at Penn State, and Bryce Jefferson's at Eastern Illinois right now. Western Illinois.
No, Illinois State.
Illinois State, one of them. He's in Illinois, okay?
Yeah.
Yes. So they've got a couple real good ones, and Parker's not a Division I quarterback, but I really like him. He's a really good player.
I thought he was just a good leader. You could tell that kids responded well to him. They had some, he had a little bit of moxie to him. He's good.
So here a buck sweep kind of gets out on us.
Yeah, we don't do a good job on this one. Again, we just don't feel well with some of those linebackers bouncing around, and we get stuck in the mud, and because of that, we just get caught, and it ends up being their best one really of the day right there, and that one hurt. Gets them down here in a pretty good situation right now. Again, we've blown contain on this one, which is a huge no-no, but CJ ends up saving us with a really nice play, pressuring. We got to retrace and get outside. We go way outside of our lanes on this, which is really bad. But CJ does a great job. Coverage downfield is excellent, so that kind of saves us there. But this is not good execution by us. Here comes the punt again. Missed a couple of times here, but we hold them to 1.5 yards. I mean, it's still really we should have had them for negative here. Like I said, this is something that we really had done well at and we felt good about. But you can kind of tell, I mean, without Luke there, our linebackers this is one of the tendency type things too. So, you can see the response. Our linebackers are a lot more stuck in the mud right now than they were when he was in there. We're just not, they're out of position. All of them are pretty much out of position except for one of them right now. So they're just a little bit stuck in the mud because they're playing a new spot.
Yeah.
And that's something throughout the week. We try to rotate our guys around a little bit and make sure that they can play. But again, we don't have the we don't have the ability to sit there and have 3 or 4 contingency plans with the amount of kids we got. I mean, if we're on plan C or D, we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of it. So these guys will rotate some at times, but they're not getting a bunch of high quality reps at each one of the 3 linebacker positions on a weekly basis. So that's just it's not possible. So when these things happen, it's tough on us. It can really kind of crunch you a little bit.
So they get a 15-yarder here to really back them up behind the chains now. And there's another penalty.
Yeah, they end up getting quite a few penalties here in the second half that derail some of their drives. Again, this is kind of trying to manufacture points and just taking these one-man deep shots to the D1 kids and stuff. I mean, this is what I talked about. These are the things that we just can't let beat us here. We can't let singular players beat a team of people. Unfortunately, we get what I think is a really bad pass interference call here on us. And it gives them 15 yards, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Great play by Kyle here. He blows contain, which is a cardinal sin for us again, but he wins this rep so fast that he just continues on with his pressure and gets a really nice arm on this quarterback's throwing arm here and causes an incompletion. It really was a hair away from being a fumble.
Well, drop there on third down. They didn't have enough there anyway. It's 3rd and probably 16.
Yeah, good pursuit, good coverage, really. Know what your situation is there. Don't let them play to the chains. Same thing. We get a great pressure here, and this time he throws into double coverage again, and we end up batting this one down. So, all in all, it hasn't been clean. It hasn't been pretty. We've dealt with some adversity, obviously, with losing Luke, but at the end of the drive, they've taken a lot of time off the clock to get to where they got, and they've gotten no points, and it's kind of playing right into the plan right now. And this is what we wanted.
Mm-hmm. I know Kyle King had a really good year this year statistically. Came in with like 17 sacks, ton of tackles, couple forced fumbles. But I think on this stage in this game, and as dominant as he was kind of, to me, his coming out party in terms of, his visibility as a high-level recruit. He really played well in this game.
Yeah, I think Ball State offered him like a week or 2 after this. When they were his first offer, but yeah, when they offered him, he was the first FBS scholarship player at the school in 20 years when they offered him. Now he obviously ended up going to Michigan State, but this was huge. Obviously, to dominate the way he did on a stage like this, play both ways. Block a Division I kid on offense and then control the game, especially the second half like he does on defense. That really was like hey, let's wake up. There's a really, really good player here in a pretty rural community and school. Let's go see what this guy's all about. And he definitely earned the ultimate prize there of a college scholarship. So
not a great start for us here. We jump, and it's going to be first and 15 here right out of the gate.
Yeah, not great.
So now we're at 2nd and probably 12.
Make a good run here on outside zone. Charlie makes a couple things happen. We don't get our backer. They actually double gap themselves, which is part of why we miss that block, because it messes up our combo here, but it also is why we get a massive run, because they double gap themselves. Again, they make a critical error here, which, is something that they had done with their aggressiveness. They do make some errors, and they make a bad one here, and Charlie makes them pay for it here, which is a big play to get us out of this hole right now. But like I said, even on that long yard situation, I'm really not that interested in throwing the ball because the
Right.
down distance says to. I'm more interested in this play is worth 40 more seconds to us. Now, unfortunately, we don't block on this play here and set ourselves way behind. They run a little safety fire off the edge here. Our protection slid the opposite direction, and we just flat out don't pick it up. We get the hot call. Zach just doesn't throw it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see him sit down. Zach just panics and chokes the ball down here. And some of that might be my fault. I told him do not make a mistake with the football.
Mm-hmm.
So throwing that little hot shot on the sit down route when Colby called it, I don't know. He may have thought, what if I throw a pick? And he just eats a sack, which puts us way behind the chains here, and is something that can really doom one of your drives when you're second and you're second and 18 or whatever. That's not where you want to be. Again, I don't care though. I mean, we're running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about time right now. Again, it's going to be a pretty boring deal here. But this is all
same blitz.
So this is what I wanted to set up for the second half. If you see this, we changed and went away from flood and changed the route here to now get Blake wide open, which you're going to see him come to the top of the screen right there, wide open. Okay, that's what we wanted. The other thing I wanted from this, though, this was the only pass I was going to throw of the second half, was this particular concept and the things off of it. Now, we end up getting sacked because we don't block, but if you watch at the bottom of the screen, when we motion away, what happens to the coverage on the guy at the bottom, see him back away so far? This is what I wanted to know. As a coordinator, I thought I saw this in the first half. I had to make sure I call it again so that I have the response that I want. Now I know that if we do need a pass, I can come back to that slant on the weak side over there, one-on-one, and be able to get cheap yards out of it. So the only reason I call a pass here is honestly to just – we're in a bad down and distance here. This play does not really matter at all. So I thought, I'm pretty much going to waste a play to get the information I need for later. Now, again, in the long run, we overthrow the ball again, so it doesn't matter. That's probably one of those things where it actually is, in my opinion, a pretty smart thing to do as a coordinator, given the scenario, to know that, look, we're not converting this anyway. I just want to get the information I need for later on. I think this is actually a really good job as far as a coordinator would be concerned. But like I said, in the opposite fashion of yesterday, we come back late in this game and really need this play to happen, and we don't execute it. Yep. And now I've thrown the ball and stopped the clock, and now I look like an idiot. Yeah. People think I'm a genius in the first half, and then come back and throw the ball late in the fourth quarter trying to seal the game. And it's like, is this guy a moron? Why? Why? What was that? So because we don't execute it. It's that simple. There's a lot of thought that goes into this, and it's actually, to me, a really good call late in the game, but we don't execute it. Now it's like, well, this guy's stupid. So you got to ride that wave a little bit as a coordinator and as a coach.
So here's one of the things we talk about.
Everybody's an expert.
So Luke Ely goes down, new player right here, because this was Luke. And when you talk about losing somebody like that, this is what happens. This is CJ, and I grabbed CJ really quick there while we were on offense that first time when he came off the field, and I said, and I kind of walked him through the rules, and everybody knows who we are, knows that we almost never punt. And going into this game, I think we had punted like 9 times in 13 games, and we don't rep it a lot in practice because we don't need a lot, and we certainly don't give our twos reps, and we maybe punt 7 times in a week of practice, because we're probably going to need it once or twice in a game. There are more efficient ways to use our practice time. Now, the downside of that is when this exact situation happens and you got to stick somebody in a state championship game that hasn't taken a ton of reps. And so what CJ should do here, once Avon blocks down on that, this should be this, and CJ should do this. and we don't get that, and we almost get it blocked. Now, good thing Rowdy got this kick away.
Yeah.
But those are the things that you fight, during the course of a game. Another really good kick.
Great punt. Huge punt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huge punt. Probably should have let that one go because he probably gave us another 6 or 7 yards too. So flip the field, feel good about it. And still 28-6. Probably towards the end of the third quarter here.
Here's kind of that rocket toss again, just from a little bit different look. This is just from a single back here. Kind of that
balanced, right?
That toss.
Yeah,
that
he's
toss
covered.
look. Just wing buck. This is something that they had shown like a couple of times here or there. It's a good job by our kids of adjusting to this, but again, you can see our backers are still struggling right now. I told you it takes a couple drives for them to really settle into anything. Maxon actually steps up and comes to make this play. Our backers are just still reeling a little bit right now. You lose that. I mean, and Luke was a team captain. I mean, you lose that type of leadership out of nowhere, and, this is kind of bound to happen. We just misfit this one again. Same thing, our backers, geez. We're just misfitting stuff. Again, they're all out of position right now, so we absolutely blow our assignment here and misfit this ISO. We've got it really stopped dead to rights, and we essentially get 2 misfits out of this, and that's pretty much going to kill you no matter what play you're stopping. So really nice job again here on the rocket toss.
Maxon from right here will make this tackle.
Colby does a good job of pinning this back in. That's a really good job by Colby as a corner at the bottom there, number 21. It's a really great job by him on this play. Hockett does a nice job as well and actually finishes the tackle. That's really well done by those two guys. And Jacob, too, is a great example. He's a kid that had kind of won a starting job in the summertime and then got hurt, got a really bad groin injury and got hurt, and had to rehab his way back. Then he had to get back in shape again. Then he had to get mentally back in shape again, and really ended up putting together a tremendous back end of the season, and is a huge part, kind of one of those small kind of. I mean, here he is making a great pressure right here, but kind of one of those small roles that is not a star, but man, without him, we probably can't win a championship. He had such a great end of the season run.
Yep.
From a kid that had pretty much been a JV player his whole career, just kept working his butt off and plugging away, and ends up, just having a spectacular senior season after he came back from that unfortunate injury.
Yeah, played really well in the Zionsville game. In the sectional, played incredibly well in the Michigan City game. Probably, honestly, in my opinion, made one of the best tackles ever in that Michigan City game, which hopefully we'll do that game here at some point. We can talk about that situation. Where he saves a touchdown and they end up missing a field goal going in the locker room. And then he has 2 picks in this game too. So really strong effort by him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Maxon going for the kill shot
really
there.
Yeah, really bad job by Maxon going to the wrong hip here. This is something we practice every day. And same thing, we misfitted across the board, and then one of our best players just makes a technique error. Really nice job by Kate on this play of staying at home and making a great play.
This whole thing is kind of messed up from the start here. Parker drops the snap, and then we drop the toss. So kind of a busted play for them from the jump. There's Kyle again.
Kyle bats that one down, yeah.
Nice pressure by CJ.
Yep. Same thing. I mean, this is all about time right now. I mean, we have essentially done nothing, and they've done nothing, and the third quarter is about over, which is
Really great swim move there.
exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
See
a
it as a
tremendous pass rush by CJ here, using
I
a
was gonna
move
say
on the
you want to kind of talk a little bit about some of the technical side of this, in terms of a linebacker on a blitz, kind of trying to set that guard up and being able to get around him.
Yeah, yeah. So I know Coach McMurray and Coach Evans both are probably tired of me saying this. I know they work these drills all the time, but again, they're high school kids and they're out there trying their best. But we stress unbelievably to our kids to not play a person's chest and to play a half a man, especially our linebackers, because most of the time you're not going to be anywhere near the size of an offensive lineman. Especially when we get to playoffs and these teams have 300-pound. Now Decatur didn't have any 300-pound kids, but a lot of these teams are going to have 300-plus-pound kids or something like that, and our
Mhm.
linebackers are usually somewhere from 185 to maybe 205, and sometimes have been smaller than that. So we really stress a lot about playing edges on people and using moves and making linemen move their feet in space, and that's something that they're not comfortable with. If you run into a lineman's chest, you play into his game because he's bigger than you,
Mhm.
might be stronger than you, and he can just absorb you like a sponge. But when you make linemen move their feet, they don't like that. I played the position. It is uncomfortable being out in space with someone more athletic than you are and having to react to them. So CJ does a great job. We finally get it right after 15 weeks here, and we play a half a man, and we get a huge pressure and then a big sack out of this here.
So this will be a punt again. Really nice punt there by Parker.
Yeah.
So he's gonna pin us down here at the 11 with a long field in front of us.
This is a big play here for us.
Yep. We talked about this a little bit in the first half, and the interesting thing to me, in that first drive of the third quarter for us, Kenny was actually standing on the opposite side, and I was going to say something and I forgot. For that first drive, Kenny was standing right here. They flipped him over, and I assume that was because we started running that straight outside zone instead of doing something else. But now he's back over here again, and we come right back to the straight outside zone, and there's just nothing over here. So long as we can get this hook, we're fine.
Well, some of what we've been
Couple of
doing
cuts
too
inside.
is that as he moved back and forth, I kept calling the
Yeah.
quarterback outside zone stuff and it was killing them. So
Mm-hmm.
they're probably, it's again, when you're playing that rover kid like that, it is a little bit of guesswork. I mean, you can't get him in the right spot every single time, and we were kind of catching him at times, and so now he's playing a little bit of guesswork. And but yeah, so you can see, like I just said, I knew we were right at the edge of it there. It's the fourth quarter. Absolutely nothing has happened, and right now, quite frankly, I couldn't be happier.
Yep.
One of the most boring quarters of football that we have probably played in my 7 years. And quite frankly, could not be more pleased with what's going on, because now they've got to get 3 scores in a quarter. And again, as long as we just take care of the ball, the math is telling me that that's just not going to happen. And
Yep.
the only way that we can lose this game now is if we just implode and throw it away. And we have never had a tendency to do that. We've never shown that we're a team that does those type of things. They're going to have to start pressing a little bit as well, and are going to be prone to making more mistakes or allowing us to get big plays. So at this point in the game, the message to the kids was it is just continue to trudge ahead. We're going to waste as much clock as we can still. I've kind of told the kids now that's what this is going to be about. The linemen up front have got to get their job done, sustain some drives for us here, and this becomes about essentially survival here, and just literally bleeding the clock to a state championship. We rip off another big one. You can see they're bringing tons of different fronts and pressures again now, and trying to do anything that they can, obviously, to slow us down. And this is kind of what you get. This is probably one thing that I didn't really say, and I should as a coordinator. We actually talked to our kids about this during the week, especially when you're playing a team that's been so good against the run like they have. We're kind of having our way with them some. I mean, Charlie ran for 200 and I think 20 something yards or more in this game. They hadn't given up. I mean, they played almost half of their season and hadn't given up 200 yards yet.
And they played some really good teams. I mean, they played Cathedral. Whiteland is a power running team that's in their conference.
Yeah. I mean, they had like half of their schedule had gone by, and they hadn't even surrendered that many rushing yards, period. They held a couple teams to negative. So we're kind of having our way, but as a coordinator, that's something I prepare the kids for is, look, when you play teams like this that are going to play 0, they're going to play 1, they're going to give a ton of pressure. You're going to get 0s, 1s, 2s as far as rushing yards are concerned. What you're waiting for, though, again, is their mistakes are where we catch that edge and we get an 11, a 9, a 26. And you've got to understand that that's part of the headache that comes with playing a team like this is – oh, there it is.
There's the Z slant.
Yeah, so I bring this guy in real tight, Max Proet, and we have an absolutely wide open shot one-on-one with Eric here, and we throw it right over the top of his head. I mean, he has won, and he's going to that hurt. That was a killer. That was a big conversion we needed too.
Yeah, this is the exact one you talked about earlier. When you motioned and you got that guy to back away to the single side, this is the situation you were talking about.
You can see when Cade comes in and attaches, they just bring everybody there. I mean, there's literally only 2 players essentially that aren't going to be in the box on this play.
Yep.
Or 3, and
we got 2 receivers down here.
Yeah, this one hurt. This one was one that really could have sealed the deal, and we don't convert it and execute it. So it happens. And that was 4th down, and we give them the ball. Now they score on this drive here too, which is really unfortunate as well. I think this is the one they get it down here and score on, but there's a couple more missed tackles. Again, we're absolutely stuck in the mud at linebacker right now on this Buck sweep stuff. We have killed it up till this point, and one linebacker goes the wrong way, the other one literally stands still, and this is not good football by us right here. It's the same play that we've been completely shutting down. Now here it goes the opposite direction, same thing. One linebacker stands still, one linebacker doesn't do the right thing, and they get 4 more yards out of it. Yeah, I mean, kudos to them. It's the best play they've got right now because we're not playing it right. And believe me, we're trying to fix it, but it's just a repetition thing. These kids haven't done this all week from that spot, and we're not coaching it well enough on the sideline, and we're not playing it well enough on the field. It's a comedy of errors right now, and we don't look good.
And you don't see that because probably the best player on the field right now, Maxon Hook, is cleaning up some of that, and he makes this tackle from deep.
Yeah, which should not be happening.
No, that's not his play to make.
And that's not the design. I mean, some of it is, but that's not what we really want.
There's your wheel right there.
Yeah. So here's a really nice job. Again, we practiced this so much the entire week. Jacob does a great job of peeling out and covering this thing. Tricep fits him up right in between him and the ball. Really nice play. It's a good throw to the chains again. So this is a touchdown here. We get another huge right there. You can see him literally put his hand into Cade's chest and push him off to create separation. We don't get the call. I mean, right there, it is egregious. We don't get the call, but like I said, I honestly think in 7 years I have seen offensive pass interference called once or maybe twice, but I'm pretty sure only once. I usually don't forget stuff like that. I'm pretty sure one time. So why not? I mean, offensive players, you might as well shove off every play. It's never getting called. So we get another really bad push off there off of what was great coverage by Cade, and they score a touchdown and make it go 28-12, and then they convert this two-pointer here as well.
A little speed option look there.
Yeah, we just don't fit it up again from the inside very well.
Expected this. You know, we've got the hands team in there. This is kind of how our hands team looks here, and you know, just a little tap, and honestly, the best player on the field stands right there for a reason for us. You know, that's a conscious decision that's where I want Max and Hook to be.
Really the same kick that we used again. I mean, it's honestly the same kick we used against them.
Yep. So really good field position, and you know, kind of let me echo what you said about, you know, so long as we don't hemorrhage the game away. There was no doubt in my mind that was going to be an onside kick. With, gosh, what do you think there is? Maybe 8 minutes, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're going to be down 2 scores, and as they're marching down the field, and you're calling the defense, and I'm sitting on the defense, I'm grabbing whatever coach I can. Hey, I need the hands team ready. If they score, give me the hands team. Because we knew, you know, that was fairly likely what was going to happen right there. So Zach changes this play. You call timeout here? Is that what happened?
Yeah, he wasted too much time. Yeah. Just wasn't clock aware at all. He made the right check. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But
play clock ran out.
He completely lost clock awareness here. Not really good blocking here on this one. This is one of those auto checks that we had that we felt really good about. We missed a couple. We absolutely just blow a block up front on one of their. I mean, of all things, to let a Division I guy go untouched here. Yeah, I mean, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot at this point. I mean, we're not executing very well here on that last defensive drive, and now we come out on offense and we lose clock awareness as a quarterback. We completely miscommunicate on the next play, and then we have a wide open rub route here, and Zach doesn't throw it. I mean, we are wide open, and he eats another sack and puts us even further behind the chains. There's a little cause for concern right now in the Dragon camp, because we are essentially doing exactly what I was trying to prevent, and
Mm-hmm.
we're almost melting down in singular spots, but then it's starting to become infectious where we're playing bad football in a couple of spots, and that's a huge problem, obviously.
They actually get called for.
We're just flat out. I mean, we're just flat out not executing. We're not playing smart football. And this is something that we really hadn't done. I mean, we had a couple moments of implosion, like any high school season does, but we're really starting to lose our cool here a little bit on the field, and that's not good.
Yeah.
We get 2 blocks in the back on this play, actually, so this is coming back, and this really ends up becoming, honestly, right here. I kind of grabbed the defense in between the drives here and just put a massive challenge on the table for them, and honestly, quite frankly, it told them that what we were playing like right now. I mean, it's embarrassing. You know, we're at this time we're probably about, I don't know, 5 or so minutes away from a state championship, and it almost seems like we're getting into a comfort zone here, and Some of that, I guess, maybe is my fault because, the attack philosophy is not something that I felt was the best. But, we're still playing football. And I really got on these guys going into this drive about kind of the lack of intensity and the lack of leadership that was going on the field that I could see. The lack of communication was a major problem. And really got on our leaders, Austin, Kyle, Maxon, Colby, those guys, really got on them to make sure that our communication was sharp and that we were into this. And I actually think I burned a timeout. I think I burned a timeout at the start of this drive. So after –
I thought it was the start of our offensive drive after this, right?
Yeah.
Because you leave one in your pocket at the end.
Yeah, we have two of them here, I think, at some point, 2 breaks in the game. So the one is after this drive before we go on offense for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was kind of the message is boys, this drive is absolutely beyond critical here. I mean, we've got them pinned in. They have to drive 80 yards. We let them just chunk us on the last drive because of so many errors. It was unbelievable. And that's not who we are. And I really challenge them to start playing Red Rage football and put this game away. And boy, is this just a spectacular defensive drive. Our hustle creates multiple penalties. They start getting a little bit edgy, and they get a couple of their own penalties that are self-inflicted. There's 2 in a row here. Kyle's beating this guy so bad the last couple of plays. If you watch those, he's trying to do anything he can to block Kyle. Mm-hmm. So he rocks back and false starts twice. We get another good pressure here with this blitz in the end zone and force a bad throw. They're trying to press it and take huge downfield shots. Kyle gets another great pressure and almost gets a safety right here. Jacob about picks that one. I mean, they are really up against it here. This is the type of defense that we're supposed to play. You can see that everybody's got their rush lanes. We're all in contain. We've got good over the top and underneath coverage. The blitzes are sharp. I mean, it's third and a mile here. I mean, we really crank it up on this drive here. I mean, they really did. It's one of the proudest defensive segments I think I've had as a coach. They absolutely emptied their tank on this one. We forced a scramble on 4th and a mile here. We have great coverage. We force a scramble and
makes that tackle.
Make a big play here.
Hockett makes that tackle from backside linebacker. That's a really good play by him. So this is 4th down, and he scrambles, and he's 15 yards short. So we come out, and our 2 linemen, Keel and King, they walk over and they've just pass rushed. What was that? Probably 10 plays in a row.
Yeah, like
and
8 or 9 plays.
And they are just gassed. So you send the offense out with no play, and and go out and bleed the clock, just bleed the play clock down. I mean, the game clock's not running, and that's fine. So they just to buy them an extra 25 seconds, you go out there and have them go sit in a stance, and then we just call timeout and have them come back over.
Here was the worst part about this play, and this is kind of one of the things that at the time drives me nuts, but I didn't go nuts about it. I went out there and I said, guys, line up, okay, and just stand there. Like, I'm not even giving you a play. Just go line up and stand there, because they both came over, and like I said with that Center Grove game, there are moments where I've done this because I understand that, as well-conditioned as our guys are, look, they just absolutely went, all out on those last 7, 8, 9 plays of defense right there, and those guys are exhausted. I mean, Austin and Kyle played, 100 and something snaps in this game, and that's brutal.
145. Here's the timeout.
So I told them, go out there. I said, I'll give you your timeout to catch your breath. And I said, here's the deal, though. If I'm going to burn this timeout, I said, I better get everything you've got. You
just see it in Kyle's demeanor right here.
Yeah. So I told him, just go out there and stand there, catch your breath. I'll call a timeout with 1 second left on the clock. That gives you 40 seconds. It gives you the whole timeout. It gives you a little bit more on the back end of that before the next play. You're going to be fine. Well, we go out there, and Zach addresses the ball and starts a cadence up. So those linemen get in a stance.
Mm-hmm.
So then those poor kids have to sit there for 20 seconds in a 3-point stance where all I wanted them to do was just stand there. Just go stand in your position. And, Zach makes another – I mean, that was a bad error. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why he went into a cadence at all, but it made the lineman get down in a stance, and that was not what I wanted. Anyway, so I called the timeout and really just told the guys, this is the game. Like I thought mathematically, again, a first down on this drive pretty much seals the deal, and we're state champions. So I really challenged the guys up front especially to finish the job here. We're obviously just going to run the ball, and that's going to be it. I mean, there's no way the ball's going in the air. You can see they're even bringing corners and everything else down. We rip one right down the pipe, get the first down that we wanted. And again, now the game just becomes about math. It's going to hand the ball off to Charlie, let him finish the deal. And that's pretty much going to be the ball game here, really.
So we run the play clock down here, and you end up calling timeout because we don't snap the ball again.
I was very unhappy with that one. I was really, we're sitting there trying to run the clock out and essentially just hand the ball off, and Zach completely loses the clock again, and so I have to call essentially what's the final timeout. Now, there's a good and a bad to that timeout, I suppose. So I'm really displeased, obviously, because we've completely lost everything that we've worked with these guys on. We lose it there, and we've lost the clock now again. He's about to delay a game penalty. And so I call a timeout and kind of tell us like, hey, guys, can we just finish this and refocus here a little bit, The good that came from the timeout was the official on our sideline was standing near our huddle when I was talking to the players. And I actually made the comment of what I really want to do here is take a knee and get this game over with. I said, but we're going to probably have to finish it because they're not just going to, they're not going to –
timeouts left.
Yeah, they had 2 left, I think. They're not just going to stop. I mean, there's a chance that a miracle could happen with the amount of time left on the clock. And so the official heard that and came over and he said, hey, will you take a knee? And I said, look, I would love to. I would actually love to take a knee and get this over with and be done. I said my stress level would go way down here. And the officials have the little headset things and stuff. And so he actually microphoned over to the official on their sideline. And he actually said to Coach Enright, hey, Coach Ralph really wants to take a knee here and would prefer to just, it's over with. Like, there's no sense in running a couple more plays. They're either going to bleed the clock out with a handoff and, potentially score, or we're going to take a knee and it's over. And so he said, if he knees, I won't use the timeouts. That's fine. And so, thankfully we end up coming back out and just taking 2 knees from the 2-yard line there. And what's interesting about all that is, outside of just that general story of, I think, good sportsmanship from both sides there is, I think there's a lot of times we get a little bit of a bad reputation for certain things, which I don't care about. My job is to coach my team and my players, and, other coaches' jobs, coach their teams and their players. So what's interesting about that particular series of events there is it had become such a massive story with Charlie and the records that season. I mean, he had 70 at that point, had 70 touchdowns. I mean, he shattered the Indiana records, and I was aware of where he was at, but I really didn't think much about it. But in the back of your head, I knew that touchdown, had we just been unsportsman about it and decided to punch it in anyway, that touchdown would have been the national record. He would have tied the national record. I mean, the game of high school football, in all the years it's been played, he would have been #1 all-time, tied for most touchdowns in a season. And I'm not really interested in personal goals or achievements or any of those things. And so we take a knee from there. And he's 2 yards away from being a national record holder on, quite frankly, what is one of the most impossible records out there to probably catch. I mean, it's absurd. And I didn't even think twice about it. All I wanted was to make sure that we had a win for those kids. Their hard work was going to get rewarded, and we took 2 knees. And I think a credit to the type of kids that we have, and especially Charlie, but the type of kids that we have overall. He didn't say a peep about it. He just celebrated with his teammates and his friends, and that was that. There was no bitterness or, come on, coach. And the kids didn't. The kids, didn't matter to them. All they wanted to do was celebrate with each other, and kind of one of those hidden special moments in there that makes me even prouder as a coach that, our kids buy so much into that team philosophy, and whatever is best for the team is what they're going to do. It was just kind of one of those things that people kind of brought up after the game. Like, you realize you're right there. You're right there. And it's like, I don't care. Charlie doesn't care. He's got plenty of records and more accolades are about to come. So what? I know what he did. I know what kind of special season he had. He knows what he had. Anyone that watched him knows what kind of a special season he had. His name being the #1 slot, what's the difference? He's got a state championship. That's all the kid wanted, and that's what he worked so hard for. And it was never about him. It was about what can I do to make the team better. So, it's kind of one of those 2 little kind of interesting stories and tidbits that are kind of hidden inside of all that stuff.
So I do want to talk about the knee really quick, because there's one really good thing that you did for the knee, and there's one really bad thing that I did for the knee that almost screwed us. So I want you to talk.
You can't get a penalty for that, though.
Yeah, I want to talk. I want you to talk a little bit about Joey Odell, and we don't have the film of the knee. Our filmers don't record that, but you can see it on the IHSAA.
End zone shots got it.
The end zone shots got it.
I think so. It doesn't matter. You don't have to pull it up, but
I think I can get to it. You just keep talking, and I'll work on it here.
Yeah. So again, one of those little hidden things in there. Like I said, I think I said this earlier before, but there's a lot of passion and a lot of time that we all as coaches put into these kids, and especially myself being in the building with them and, having them in weightlifting class and watching these kids grow up through 4 years of their careers, and seeing kids change and seeing them develop, become young men. And there's a lot of pride and a lot of care and a lot of love that goes into that process. And sometimes it's tough love. It isn't all easy, trust me. But yeah, I think one of those, again, really hidden moments that your average fan would never see or pay attention to, unless you were this kid's parents or maybe even a senior parent that your son was friends with him. So Joey Odell was one of our backup linemen who was a senior. Had really never played varsity football for us, had been a JV guy pretty much his whole career, was a backup then as a senior as well. But was one of the kids that, I think he went 2 off seasons. So going into his junior and going into his senior year, I think he went 2 off seasons with 100% lifting attendance. He didn't miss a day. And Joey was a little bit limited athletically and size-wise. He definitely wasn't one of the biggest of kids. But he ended up being one of our all-time top 10 bench pressers in his weight class. He really worked his butt off. The boys loved him. He was a great friend to a lot of the kids. And really was one of those kind of hidden leaders by example that, when he would go in as a backup late in the games, man, the boys would just cheer for him and he'd play his butt off. And really it was kind of one of those great stories as a senior because everyone was kind of rallying behind him. Well, in typical Joey fashion, because he was such a great kid, he would go over and play scout team for us as a senior. He wanted to do it. He asked to do it. And he would give us a great look every week. Because, again, he's one of those kids on that cusp of maybe being on the field or whatever. So he had really turned himself into a quality player. And he would go over there and run scout team for us and give us a phenomenal look every single week. And unfortunately, early in the season there, he was on scout team and unfortunately injured his knee and tore his ACL on, again, kind of a really weird freak play, just bizarre. But anyway, it was one of those things where we've lost a really well-respected senior now who's worked his tail off to be able to enjoy his senior season, and he lost that opportunity, but really just as it had gotten started. And, it was terrible. I mean, it was just, you feel terrible anytime someone gets hurt, but that one, when it's a senior, it always hurts worse because that's their final go. And he rehabbed it, and he done all kinds of stuff. And obviously with a torn ACL, you're really never going to get it back at the high school level on offensive line. Sometimes older guys can, college or NFL have been able to pull it off, but high school kids, it's not worth it to try to come back with that. So made the decision to go ahead and rehab and have surgery and do all those things. And he came to me kind of late in the year and just said, "Hey, coach, do you mind if I dress out for the playoff run? I know I can't go in there. I know I can't play. But would you mind if I just go in full gear now?" And he was able to do the warm-ups and stuff like that. And absolutely. We dressed him full, and he went through the whole routine. Then he just stood there on the sidelines the whole time in full gear. But he's part of the team. I'm not going to deny him that. He worked his tail off for it. So it came to the state championship week, and some of the boys had approached me and said, "Hey, coach, do you think if we get ahead and it's late in the game, could we put Joey in for a PAT or something, and get him in there for a play?" And I said, "Guys, I understand it, and believe me, I mean, my God, would I love to. I mean, I would love to." I said, "But you got to think about the health risk. If it's a PAT, they're going to rush it, and he's got to withstand the rush. I mean, I can't put him in there and let him just get plowed over, and that knee gives way." And I said, "You're talking about I get what you guys are going for, but I can't do that. In the event that something worse happens to him, how do I explain that to his parents? And I just can't." So the opportunity obviously presented itself then, where we got to go into victory formation and take a knee. And I'd already had the thought in my head, but I remember Austin Keel came over in that timeout after we talked to the kids and stuff. And as we were kind of talking through it, Austin looked at me and goes, "Coach, this is it. This is the time." And I'm like, I was already thinking it, man. And the boys got really fired up, and they all start screaming his name, and Joey comes panicking, waddling around through the wave and the waves of people that are trying to get near the field and, hear what's going on, and through the crowd of players. And I put him in for those last two victory plays. And the boys were so excited, and the seniors from the sideline that were on the sideline that aren't on offense were screaming and cheering for him. And he got to be out there for the final whistle and be out there with his buddies. And I didn't know at the time, but you had actually thought I mis-subbed, and so you brought somebody else out. So we actually played with 10 players for two plays. Thankfully, that's not a penalty.
So the 10 is not a penalty, but what is a penalty is we do only have 6 on the line.
Yeah, we don't line
we
up.
got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Zach's in there. 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So I thought Joey was going in at tight end, and the offensive line was going to stay. And what happened was Kyle King came out.
Yeah, I took Kyle out and put Joey in. Yeah.
So I thought Kyle was going to be here, and then Joey would be here. So I took Maxon out of the game, and so we snapped these two. We snapped these 2 victories with 10 because I didn't have the right personnel on the field.
Yeah, but it was all worth it. It was great. It was a great moment for Joey, and one of those things too where, just put a big smile on my face and on that kid's face. And, for the boys, such an uplifting, moment there to be on the field with their brother who'd obviously, fallen, sacrificing for our team to better our team, early in the season like that. And just a really, really cool, again, kind of hidden moment in there that a lot of people don't probably understand, recognize, or appreciate unless you're those boys or you're that kid's family. But, what those kids mean to me is something that I can't explain. And to be able to give back a little bit to Joey in that moment was, really heartwarming for me as a coach and someone that cares about those guys a lot. It's a great memory for him, and a great memory for our boys as well. So, yeah, one of those kind of little hidden treasures that I'll always keep with me.
So that'll do it. Dragons win 28-14. Your second state championship. Your first in 5A, which I think is an accomplishment that gets, I think, kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit. In that, after 4 years in the next class up, we win it, and then come back at 19 and win it again. So as we kind of put this one to bed, we'll turn our attention to a new opponent tomorrow, and like I said, we've got quite the list going here. Let me grab my list of requests here. I've got Valparaiso, Cathedral, 18 Center Grove, 18 Zionsville, Harrison, 19 Whiteland. We might want to just burn that film before we get there.
I'm not sure if I want my stress level to go up that high in the morning.
So we got a few to pick from there. And any you want to tackle next tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I had a couple people request the 18 Zionsville, the Cathedral game, Valpo. So we'll let it be dealer's choice. You just decide tomorrow what we want to do, and we'll get after it.
All right, sounds good. So we'll think about it today, and we'll plan on touching base tomorrow. Again, we always appreciate you guys tuning into this. The reception of this has been awesome, and I'll say this: I've had a lot of great conversation. This has sparked a lot of great conversation in the coaching community. And a lot of coaches that have kind of reached out and asked for, how do you do this, or why do you do this, or what's your offensive structure like, or how do you play call, or and that alone I think has been a nice result of this is being able to have some great coaches and do a little bit of networking and meet some new guys in the profession that we've not dealt with or seen on the Glazier Clinic circuit or guys from outside Indiana. That's been kind of a neat deal in this.
Yeah, same. I mean, that's what I said after the first episode, so going to episode 2, there was a lot of, I know they're long, but you could sit down and watch them in 15-minute chunks or something. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from it, and there's probably some things that might pop up in your head. Like I said, we really want this to be something interactive, and I think it's unique. It's not about so much of the X's and O's, though you get a couple of those things. It's maybe more about coaching points, practice points, scheme, all that stuff, what's going on thought process-wise. So if there's anything that pops into your guys' heads that are watching these and you've got questions, you can privately ask them to Coach West or myself on Twitter. You can publicly ask and respond. But, yeah, I mean, the more interactive this is, the better off it's going to be for everybody. And, please feel free to reach out and ask questions whenever you choose to. And, I do speak on kind of the national clinic circuit and stuff and really enjoy doing that stuff and sharing with coaches and sharing with people, but then more so learning new people and more about their programs and things that they do. So that's really what this whole coaching community is about. And like I said, this is why Coach West and I wanted to do this. It's not something that, hey, if you want this information or you want us to break something down for you, you want us to, pay us a whole bunch of money, and that's not what we're in this for.
No.
We're in this to, one, we're all pretty extremely bored during quarantine, so we need to do something that keeps us moving forward. And this is something that I certainly look forward to every day of being able to talk a little bit of football and kind of go over some of these things is fun. But Two, it's to share, and it's to potentially help. Some people may get a lot of value out of this, and maybe some people don't. But make sure you maximize the value that you can get, by asking questions or anything like that. So yeah, please feel free to ask anything. It doesn't matter. Again, I'm not going to hide anything. You can ask really about whatever question you'd like to ask about our schemes or our plans or any of those things, and I'm going to share it. So there's no sense in thinking that the game of football was invented or reinvented by myself or Coach West or anybody. I mean, it's all perceived based on how we see things and how we plan to attack things. And most of those things have been done or tried already. So it isn't like something that we've got is something extra special. You've probably heard through a lot of these talks, most of it comes down to the plan and then executing the plan. And that's what we try to do. We're pretty simple, and we try to have our kids execute to their best of ability, and hopefully that's better than your kids can execute. And that's really what we bank on. Like I said, we've got good players that are smart, and most oftentimes we're able to do that. So it's not rocket science, and there's nothing crazy or super, super fancy you're going to get. Just disciplined football.
Yep. There's no ebooks. There's no private clinic. There's no pay me for the film. Look, man, send us a huddle request. We'll send you everything. We'll send you as much as you want. And I'm appreciative that you're an open door like that. And I just like having those conversations with coaches. I mean, it's never been about the money to me. It's that I like talking to coaches and showing coaches what we do. I get some great feedback about, hey, have you thought about this? Why don't you do it this way? How come and I enjoy that. So, well, Coach, we appreciate it. We'll plan on seeing you again tomorrow, and we'll have a new opponent to talk about.
Sounds good.
All right.